It's a hill. Oh, ancestral spirit. Been sorting some mead out earlier on, ready for next weekend, because there's only a few bottles of this left, but the new batch is there. Like I said last time, this has been on the go over a year now. I am Wayman Grimraven, you all know that by now if you've been watching these videos, and I am the Halig Wademan of Woden's Earth, the Ancestral Hall, and I am coming at you today from the Heath of Scaifer in Wackersfield, the West Thirding of Yorkshire. Okay, very quickly, I'm just going to say that next weekend, the summer solstice weekend, our kindred gathering is taking place. So Mona's Dag Post may run a little bit late, because I'm hoping that some of the footage that we get over the weekend of the blot and some of the activities we're doing, that I'll be able to edit that down into reasonable length and use that as the post, as a post is sitting here more labbing on. Okay, so that's what's coming up next week. I'm cramped in here at the moment because I've got loads and loads of kit stacked up ready and for when we go there, because there's all the cooking kit to take and everything. So okay, Mona's Dag this week. I thought I'm going to do it. This I've got some notes here, because this can be a bit complicated to explain, and I don't know how many, if anybody else actually thinks like this. So I'm going to say these are my personal thoughts today. They don't even reflect the view of my kinsfolk. They may do, I don't know, I've never asked them. Okay, but they are my personal views that I've evolved over a lot of years, because as you'll be well aware by now, I started off as a Norse pagan, if you like, and then as an Odinist, then as a Norse heathen, and then really wanting to get to the roots of my Anglo-Saxon ancestry. I worked backwards a lot more to the person you see today, and I'm a Woden's man. I'm an Anglo-Saxon heathen, and I don't make any apologies for what I'm about to say, because it's what I've learned as I've gone along. So okay, in the Norse side of things, we have the Vanir, okay, and they are deities in their own right, and quite powerful deities in their own right. When you come across to the Anglo-Saxon side of things, the Vanir don't exist. Right? They're not a race of gods. They are the Wanes, and they are land Ettins and land rights, and they are not on the same level as the Asgardian deities. It's just as simple as that. Not in my mind. Okay, so I don't see the Wanes as deities. I do not accept Freya, for example. In the Norse sense of it, Freya exists. When I bring it over to the Anglo-Saxon side, there is only Frigg. Frigg is the first lady. Okay, Frigg is the most important goddess. We don't need a younger, sexualized version of a female deity blinding things and confusing things, which is what I've always believed that Freya is. Okay, Ing is not Frey. Ing is Ing, or Ingwa. I've always thought that when you hear the word Ingwa Frey, that it's almost like two deities have been spliced together. Wouldn't be the first time. Frey is Norse. Ing is an old English god, okay, or an old Anglo-Saxon god, or from the earlier period. Okay, again, it brings me to these questions: are the Norse deities, and the way that the later Norse saw things, evolutions of the earlier deities? Because if they're not, then they're completely different. There are too many differences and not as many similarities right? So they've either had this base Woden, for example, and then added to him as they've gone along, or this base idea of who Chew was, or because again Chew doesn't fight or bind a wolf called Fenrir as far as we know in Anglo-Saxon mythology. Okay, so are the add-ons? Is it evolution? Okay, you have to make your own mind up from that. But reason I call the Anglo-Saxon gods by their own names and look for the Anglo-Saxon equivalents or deities that do represent our ancestors is because, as much as in my heart I will always love and hold in high reverence the Norse deities, they are ancestral too, but they are not the first, they're not the earliest. Yeah, and my heart wants to go back way further than that. The war in Asgard. Okay, this is so controversial for me because, again, it's not something that we hear about in Anglo-Saxon mythology, or there's no surviving source of it that I know of anyway. I could be wrong, but as far as I know, there isn't. But the war in Asgard. Okay, a lot of people misunderstand why the Aesir gods and the Vanes were fighting in the first place. And it's simple. There was a Vanir deity called Gullveig, or Gullveig Hid, who appears at the gates of Asgard. And she is a witch. And she's burned by the Asgardians. And she comes back. And they burn her again. And she comes back. And they burn her for a third time. And she comes back. So they bring her into Asgard among them. Okay, so first of all, what's actually happening here? Right? They're burning the witch. Or as a Vanir, maybe they represent the growth of the plant life and everything, and maybe this is taking over Asgard and pushing it out. Because if you burn the crops, it will fertilise the land. And in essence, they're meant to be fertility deities. Right, so is this actually a twist on an old agricultural story that's kind of been lost in time? I don't know. Right, but I put to you, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks that Gullveig Hid is Freya. Because of Gullveig Hid either being taken into Asgard, and so no longer with the Vanir, or because they try to kill her basically 3 times, the war between the Ace and the Vanes begins. And no one can get the upper hand, no one can win. We know all this, we know what's happening. Right? But they've already got a Vanir goddess inside of Asgard with them. So then it's time to call truce. Okay, so hostages swapped. Freya and Njord are brought into Asgard. Freya and Njord. Right, so Freya's brother and father. The incestuous twins are back together. Okay, and the dads come along with them for the jolly. Right, there's more stories about that further on in the book. And then Honir and Mimir, or Mim, get sent across the Vanes. Right. The problem is, Mimir is way too clever and way too wise, the Vanir, so they chop his head off. Now this raises a few more questions, because Odin would have already known this was going to happen. And he allows it to happen. He could have stopped it. He could have not sent Mimir. Right? They kill him, so the retribution should be that they kill one of their hostages, or the war starts again. But instead, what he does do is seeks out Mimir's head, preserves it with runes, hence you get Mimir as well. Maybe that's why Odin has to pay such a high price as tearing out an eye and leaving it in the well for a drink of Odria from the well. Because everything's preventable. When you look at the Norse myths, everything is preventable. because Odin already knows this can happen, but he's allowing things to take the course. He's not intervening. So they've killed their hostage, and there's no retribution, and so everyone just carries on, tra-la-la-la-la-la. Everybody's enjoying life, aren't they? Up until Ragnarok. But Freya herself, right? The reason Odin wants her there is because he's seen the power of this deity, this witch deity, that can rebirth even when, and so there's a magic here that he does not yet understand. Now, everyone says that Freya learns him Sadir, oh, it's sex magic and blah blah blah. Is it though? Or is that just the way that human minds have taken it? Yeah. Oh, it's female magic, blah, blah, blah. It's this, it's that, it's other. Right? What he sees is an entity that can't be killed. That is powerful magic. And Odin wants some of that. Right? Does that include sexual practices? I don't know. These are gods. They're probably not going to interact on the way that we do anyway, so it's just like, what exactly are we calling sexual interaction and magic? I think there's a lot of confusion here, and there's a lot of male interpretation being put on these myths over time. Okay, some of it to bastardize deities from the Christian perspective, and some of them because it's like hard men, rowing boats, dying in battle, want to believe in all this, don't they? It's like there's something for them to grip onto. Oh, the Valkyries, I'm making a Freya's all, oh, she's free with her favours, and blah, blah, blah. You can imagine the way that men's minds worked back then. And she kind of casts an illusion because of her magic. She can't put her foot wrong in front of anybody. Even Odin seems to be sort of taken in by her till Brisingman. Yeah? And then he wants that necklace taken off her. Right? As we talked about in the Loki story the other day. We've also mentioned Freya giving up his flaming sword that could have turned the tide of battle at Ragnarok. It's more like the Vanir have planted spies in the Asgardian camp, and they're flying under the radar all the way through. And this is one of the things that made me start questioning my Norse path right back when I was on it. I just thought, this doesn't add up to me, it doesn't make sense. Why? I mean, there's this, keep your enemies, your friends close, your enemies closer, and blah, blah, blah. I've heard all that before, right? But it clearly tells you in Avarmul, do not be a friend to your enemy or to your enemy's friend. So that's absolutely totally against the wisdom of Odin, isn't it? Okay. So I don't understand. I can't understand these interactions, and this is why it started doing my head in a little bit, right? And that's when I started thinking, and that's when I started looking deeper, and that's why I say these are my personal thoughts. I have no trust. I had no trust left in the Vanir story and the part that they play, basically, in the downfall of Asgard. They still won the war. Because if they are fertility deities, okay, and Balder comes back after Ragnarok, and Magni and Modi, and everything grows again and is lush and green, that's the Vanir. Because Freya's already proved you can't kill nature. Nature just comes back, nature just carries on. So when Asgard falls at Ragnarok, the Vanir are actually victorious, because Surtur, cleansing the land with fire, that's actually what he's doing, cleansing it. And then the Vanir will regrow. So by subservience, they win the war that they couldn't have won by means of force. And that's how I see it anyway. like I've said, these are my thoughts. You may think I'm crazy, but I wanted to get this one done because it's one of them I've mentioned a couple of times in past with people and that, but not too often, because normally drink too much mead too quick and can't get the story out what I'm trying to say properly. So today I've held back a little bit there for you. So like I say, next Mona's Dag post after this one will not be from the hearth. It will actually be from Rekindled from Embers and Ash, which is the name of our summer gathering this year, to be held in our 3-acre woodland for just a few of us this year. So we've got a lot of space, a lot of time on our hands, and we're going to enjoy it. Till next time, take care, stay safe, in Woden's Keep, drink ale.